Welcome back to another Victory Thursday. When you're listening to this episode of the Goonery, the Bears are 2-1 heading into week 4 with the chance to walk out of Meadowlands at 3-1, with the Giants also having the chance to go 3-1. Not anything I think any of us expected, but nonetheless, it's an ugly 2-1, but it's 2-1.
That game was I tweeted out that Larry David gif of him being happy but also being confused, because that's literally how I feel right now. And one thing that was positive from that game on Sunday was the defense actually showed up. Yes, they allowed a couple chunk plays. Yes, they did allow probably more yards than they should have. But when it was time for the defense to clamp down, they did exactly that. And the leader of that group was Roquan Smith, who we ragged on last week and saying maybe Ryan Poles was right to play hardball with him in terms of giving him the money that he thinks he deserves. He was a defensive leader. There was no doubt, especially with Jalen Johnson being out. Mm-hmm. And speaking of Jalen Johnson being out, we saw Kendall Vildor hold his own. He had a rough first couple of drives, and then he completely clamped down. They said, you're not going to challenge me. You're not going to pick on me. You're not going to treat me like Kyler Gordon last week. So that's a positive sign. And considering we're going into the Meadowlands with Daniel Jones at quarterback, and granted, I watched a lot of the Cowboys and Giants game just for scouting purposes. And the one thing I will say is, while Daniel Jones may not be the best decision maker, he may not be the best arm talent wise, he's kind of the same situation as Justin Fields. What is he going to do behind that offensive line? His offensive line, and I think the worst part for his perspective is the fact that they spent a top 5 pick on an offensive lineman, and he was the weak link of that group.
Horrible. Did he give up what? I think it was 3 sacks on Monday night.
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean that's a rough look. And you see, I also agree with you on that comparison of Fields and Daniel Jones. My difference between those two with their pocket presence, pocket awareness, Fields is going to hold on to the ball too long, whereas I feel like Daniel Jones is either tucking and running way too early or throwing the ball way too early. And he's always just a second or maybe 2 tops off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because he knows how bad his offensive line is. He knows that he's more gifted with his legs than people give him credit for, or he just doesn't trust his receivers that much, which, I mean, now that Sterling Shepard's down, they have a number 1 in Kadarius Toney, who has barely played this year, and Kenny Galladay, highest paid receiver in football, who just seemingly forgot how to play football. And it's going to be an interesting matchup because it's 2 teams playing under 2 new head coaches. They seem to be rallying behind these guys, and it's 2 teams who definitely feel like they have something to prove. I think it's going to be a sloppy game, but it's going to be a better game than people want to admit. It's 2 of the best rushing attacks in football. It's going to be an old-fashioned game. I bet we see 40 passing attempts at the very, very tops, because you see what Saquon can do when he's healthy. And Khalil Herbert, I mean, he looked as good as a Bears running back has looked in a very long time, if you ask me. And that's just going to make this situation a whole lot different if and when Montgomery plays this week. But I don't feel like they're in a rush to bring him back after that performance from Herbert.
Not at all. And one thing, I love Matt Forte, so I'm not going to compare any running back to Matt Forte. He's in a league of his own. However, Khalil Herbert reminds me a lot of Thomas Jones. Thomas Jones was as solid as it gets, and I think Khalil Herbert's maybe a little more shifty than him, but that comparison is there for me. But on the topic of Justin Fields, I have practiced patience with him after his rough rookie year all off season. And I think it's consistent that I hold on to that patience. But there are times, and I'm a Bears fan, you're a Bears fan, I'm 25 years old, you're 22 years old. We've seen a lot of incompetency when it comes to the head coaching tree.
It's an understatement.
It's been a lot. It's been a whole lot. But from what I'm seeing in the little time that Justin Fields has been the quarterback under Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy, maybe, just maybe, it's starting to make sense as to why he only gets an X amount of pass attempts a game. And I hate to admit it because, you know, all you've heard is that Justin Fields is the guy. We're impressed with him. We want to make sure that he's in the best position to improve. While he may not be improving because of what's around him, I also think it is on the coaching staff to try and understand what he has around him. There's a difference because regardless of where you think this season is going, right now we're 2-1. And if you ask the average Bears fan that goes to the games every day, every Sunday in Soldier Field, they'll probably tell you that because we got to a 2-1 start, that we have a really, really, really good chance of making the playoffs. We're not making the playoffs. I just want to let y'all know that. So cut that shit out. Now, with this situation, how will you know with all the draft capital that you have, with all the money that you have, you can't sit around and wait to see if he's the guy next year.
Yep.
Because if he ends up floundering this year, and unfortunately he is on track to do that, what is putting more weapons around him actually going to do? And especially for how it seems as though he is very, very gun shy. His confidence seems to be shy.
I would say that's a perfect way to describe him. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that they've changed so much about his mechanics in this offseason.
Yeah.
But regardless, he has regressed in every aspect of his game from last year. And I really didn't think that was possible, if we're being completely honest. And I'm not saying the Bears should be regretting the Eberflus hire, but after kind of seeing what's been going on in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, the steps he's kind of taken the last few weeks, you kind of wonder, should they have made a run at him more, at Doug Peterson? Should they have potentially made a run at Mike McDaniel down in Miami? Now, Mike McDaniel's an interesting case because do I know if what he has going on in Miami would be working somewhere else without the weapons he has at his disposal? Probably not. He inherited a very good roster, and because of Brian Flores getting absolutely screwed by the Dolphins in the league, and he fell upwards into that one. There's no denying it. Would it be working here? I don't know. But just based on the scheme of that offense, I feel like it's a bit more tailored to Justin Fields' skill set at the moment.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel like Luke Getsy gets Justin Fields, for lack of a better term. And it's concerning. It's genuinely concerning. And I understand it's his first time calling plays. You're going to have growing pains with a young quarterback, and then you pile on the fact that it's a first time play caller. It's still not an excuse, in my opinion, because with as much talent as we're told he has, what we've seen him do at the college level, I don't know if it's an Ohio State quarterback thing being cursed in the NFL, but it's at the point where I am concerned. He has 297 passing yards through 3 games.
And here's the thing too, when you're going to go to a conundrum with Fields, because let's just say that the offense is so bad from a passing perspective that they decide to move on from Luke Getsy. He's going to be on his 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years. There is no way that could be a thing where that's going to help him. And at the same token, you're like, okay, can Luke Getsy be the guy to turn around Justin Fields? We don't know that. And that's honestly scary to me, because I think Bears fans are very, very well aware that this could be a 10 to 15-year quarterback if we keep him upright and the rest actually try to protect him, because Justin Fields takes a lot of hits and he seems to be an easy target to take hits at. And it's crazy to me. But you wonder if being gun shy has to do with that, has to do with the fact that he does get hit a lot, and he's not sure if his receivers are getting open, and maybe he's scared to take chances. Maybe, and this is a complete theory of mine. What if we're actually being lied to by all these media outlets? What if we're being told that Justin Fields is very, very intact with the future plans of the Bears, but really that's not the case. The message could be completely different. And considering how I look at a lot of tape and I see Fields miss a lot of guys, maybe that's a lot to do with it. Maybe it's the pressure. Maybe it's the fact that his confidence is there. All I know is it's something. It's not, this isn't just something that just doesn't exist. Something's going on there that we could speculate about, but we really don't know.
Yeah, and there's two things I kind of want to touch on with Justin Fields. The first one being that you buffoons on Twitter who are calling for Trevor Siemian to start over Justin Fields.
Ridiculous.
Now, I have never seen people with denser skulls. You draft Justin Fields as high as you do, you're letting him fail before you are putting in Trevor Siemian. And there is no situation, one, where Justin Fields has been allowed to fail this year. Two, I don't understand the thought process. You know exactly what Trevor Siemian is. This is not a football team that's trying to win. You're not going to win games with Trevor Siemian at quarterback regardless. And then two, I like that Justin Fields acts like he has a chip on his shoulder, right? You see it on social media. You see how he interacts with the media from time to time. I appreciate that he took and accepted the fact that he needs to play better. I mean, I not a lot of guys like to admit that, but he admitted that. I get that. I appreciate that. But I'm not a fan of, I don't know who posted what, girlfriend, fiance, I don't know what she is, family member, posting the videos of him on the treadmill at home after the game, 8:30 at night on her Instagram story, just trying to prove a point that, oh, he's always working. Your legs and conditioning aren't the problem, man. You need to be watching the game film at that point and resting your body because he took a beating. And that might be a meatball taking me. I'm not denying that. But if you're going to say you have a chip on your shoulder, play like it.
So the only issue I would have with that particular thing, that whichever family member it was, is stop trying to prove anything to these people. Don't prove a damn thing to them. You want to know why? Because at the end of the day, you could be a fan of a football team, but you could really hate an individual. And considering he was once considered the savior of the Bears, he is a Bears quarterback, which already comes with pressure. And he's also a black quarterback. You are never going to win over some people, no matter how good you do. There's always going to be something that they can poke holes in it. So stop it. Stop trying to prove people that he doesn't put in the work. I'm sure Justin Fields puts in the work. It's literally all mental with him, which is why he should be in the film room. You are correct. But I'm glad you brought up this whole theory of yanking him so he can learn more. In what situation has that worked? Yanking a guy who does give you the best chance to win. And it may not show up in the stat sheet, because what you see in the stat sheet, it ain't good. And that it is what it is. But if we're going to talk about that, you yanked Andy Dalton last year to start him.
Yep.
Because he gave you the best chance to win. Trevor Siemian has been a bridge quarterback his entire career.
I don't even know if you can consider him a bridge quarterback. I think he's below that.
He might be. You know what? You're right about that. You're right about that. And here's another thing. Just imagine if there was a scenario where Trevor Siemian was not the backup quarterback. You know who the backup quarterback would have been? Nathan Peterman. And I guarantee you that they would have been asking for Nathan Peterman, because they think he could do so much better than what they're seeing on the field right now. So
I think Nathan Peterman might be the exception with that one, just because of how absolutely horrendous he's been every time he stepped on a football field in the NFL. Because I mean, what was he threw like 6 interceptions in a game before, right?
Yes.
I mean, I feel like people are dumb, but I don't think they're that dumb. I mean, if you look at his career stats, 2017, he had 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 picks with a QB rating of 38. 2018, 296 yards, 1 touchdown, 7 picks with a 30.7 rating. Last year, or 2020 with the Raiders, 25 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Last year, did not attempt a single pass.
The only reason why I bring up Nathan Peterman is because they will jump through hoops to try to make a point of why he should be there. Oh, maybe he needs to change the scenery. Oh, maybe he'll gel better with Luke Getsy. All these things that people will come up just to prove a point. And I don't put it past none of these shameless ass people to do that. So is he really an exception? I don't think he is. I don't think anybody would be exempt. If there was a guy that they drafted in the 6th round of last year's draft, they would be calling for him. That's how fans are. They think that any option is the better option. And really, last year you could use our next opponent as the perfect example. They thought the grass was going to be greener on the other side, whether it be Jake Fromm or whether it be Mike Glennon for the Giants. And they started to appreciate Daniel George just a little bit more because they saw that monstrosity that they saw on the field last year. So I would not put it past any fan to say any bullshit like that, because I mean, not half the time, a lot of these fans say bullshit. Just look at any comment section on NFL Twitter.
That's fair. So, I mean, we've been talking a lot about Justin Fields. You kind of mentioned it earlier that you, with the amount of draft capital they have, you cannot allow him to just wait around. And if it's not worth building around him after this year, you should have an idea after this year. Like you should at least. It doesn't matter. I get it's year one of an new offensive coordinator, new system, but you should know if you think he's the guy after this year. And I think we will, one way or the other. I genuinely do. What's it going to take for you? Because there's no situation where they're drafting a quarterback in the 1st round next year.
Right.
I cannot foresee that. But what's it going to take for you if you're the Bears to draft quarterback, say the 3rd, 4th round, like as early as the 3rd or 4th round, I would say, as if you want to call it an insurance policy, because at that range, you're probably looking at what's his name? BYU's quarterback, probably what's his name? Jaron Hall. Probably Tyler Van Dyke from Miami. A Hendon Hooker potentially from Tennessee.
The guy from Stanford, his name escapes me right now.
No, that I was gonna say
Tanner McGee. Tanner McGee.
What's that gonna take for you if you are the Bears to look at a quarterback in the middle rounds?
I'm gonna be really honest with you. Let's say he has a stat line of 9 touchdowns and 22 interceptions. You have to consider it. You have to, because that tells me that he had enough pass attempts to make a lot of plays, and he made plays to the other team. And considering, there have been passes that I saw on Sunday that you're just wondering,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you looking at?
Yeah.
It's been, and like, I always try to give Justin Fields the benefit of the doubt, because I know he's under a lot of pressure, like just being the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. I really try to give him the benefit of the doubt, but there's just plays last week, and I'm just like, what in the hell are we doing here? Like, you had a clean pocket, and yet you decided to make that throw. There had to be better options. There had to be better options out there. So if that trend continues, I would not be opposed to bringing in a guy in the draft. And hell, you can even see what's out there in free agency, because Trevor Siemian is, if you're going to transition to Trevor Siemian, this ain't Josh McCown we're talking about. This ain't 2013. So if that being the case, then yeah, that would be the one thing that would convince me. But I will say this, if he does mess around, have a 9 touchdown, 22 interception season, I'm probably going to tell you that I don't want him as the quarterback anymore, if I'm being honest.
Unfortunately, I do agree with you. And in that situation, I mean, you mentioned free agents. I know some guys that, I mean, have been at least one guy been linked to the Bears in the past. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be a free agent coming out of Miami. Another guy who is seemingly becoming the next Ryan Fitzpatrick before our eyes, Jacoby Brissett. And he's a guy who I wanted on the Bears at one point in the past
I did too.
before he went to the Colts. And I'm not saying I want him on the Bears right now. Don't get my words twisted here. I still want Justin Fields to be our quarterback for the next decade plus. But I just hate that we have to even have this conversation. That's the worst
And
part.
we're only at week 3 too, man.
That's the absolute worst part about this is that we are having this conversation week 3 of year 2 for Justin Fields. It's just 297 yards through 3 weeks in 2022. It's unacceptable. And I understand he's not having a ton of opportunity to throw the football, but it's still unacceptable. And
It is.
it's just been an ugly 297 yards. If that's even possible. If an ugly 297 yards through 3 weeks is possible, it's that.
And I have seen the issue for Justin Fields. And possibly this has a lot to do with the Ohio State offense that he was in. He is a big game hunter. He's a big play hunter.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very, very, very non-realistic thing you could do in the NFL. I'm sorry, because even the greats don't even do it. Patrick Mahomes doesn't do it. Aaron Rodgers doesn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson doesn't do it. Josh Allen, you can see he periodically does that. And maybe he's going to need to take that out of his game when it comes down to it. But if the guy underneath is open, you get those yards. If the guy is open in the corner, you get those yards. If you have to set up a big play through play action, get the yards. But do not just hunt for the big play all the time, because this is the NFL. You're going to have a lot of opportunities to do that. So that is the main thing that I have noticed from his game. And if it don't change, we're going to see a lot of him taking sacks because he continues to look for the big plays, and he absolutely does not need to do that.
Yeah. I mean, and there was a moment in week 1, or not week 1, last week, I should say. I apologize. It was the first drive. That's where I'm getting my words twisted here. The first drive when he ripped off that 29-yard run, right? He should have been sacked about 3 times on that play.
Yeah.
And he just you saw right away there was an open lane and he had it and he decided to bounce back, roll out right, and then he rolled back left, ducked under a guy. And like in that moment, he should have thrown that ball away too at one point before trying to keep it up. And I don't know if it's an awareness thing. I don't know if it's I think I'm the most athletic person on the field thing, because he was when he was at Ohio State.
Yeah.
He was. There's no denying it. This is the NFL. I think it is a lot of growing pains still, and the situation doesn't help. It's concerning, and something that a lot of people are talking about is how poor the Bears wide receiving core is right now, and apparently the Bears are planning on being involved in the trade market for wide receivers. If I'm being completely honest, I don't even know what the trade market for wide receivers would look like right now. And I mean, in-season trades in the NFL too are just so incredibly rare that I don't get it. If they were going to do anything, I would love to see them sign Odell Beckham off the street and just say, hey, fuck it. Come in and be you. Let's just see if you can.
Whoa! Can't use that term. Can't use that term.
Oh, I didn't even. Oh my god! I fucking hate myself. I mean, that just. Oh my god! Wow. I'm having Vietnam flashbacks now after saying that. Right away. Oh god! Wow, that's inexcusable. Okay, just come in and.
Torch the league.
Yep,
torch it.
Play like Odell wants to play, right? And just test out that knee. But the problem is Odell's going to want to play for a contender.
Absolutely.
So realistically, you're going to end up with a number 3 receiver from The Saints look like they have a lot of receivers available if they can stay healthy. I mean, Chris Olave, obviously you're not going to get him, but they'll for sure trade for a Jarvis Landry or someone along those lines, which not exciting, but I could see that working. And it's just going to be that level of player, though, and that's what sucks, in my opinion.
So 2 names came to mind. One name is not going to be popular with Bears fans, but I think it has the potential to be very, very good. First name that came to mind was Kenny Galladay. I understand, big contract, struggled,
Chicago kid, though.
and here's the thing. I know that he looked bad with the Giants, but let's keep it extremely honest here. He don't want to play there. He don't feel wanted to play there. So considering that, if he has a change of scenery, I think he will be better. There's a guy that not many people are talking about that when he played for a different team than his current quarterback, trashed him. And he's not getting the ball much in his current situation. Robbie Anderson. I think Robbie Anderson is as talented as they come. And you saw that with the likes of Sam Darnold and Ryan Fitzpatrick. If he gets with the right quarterback, Robbie Anderson can light it up. And it sounds like to me, and maybe, honestly, you can say the same thing about DJ Moore. I don't know if it's a Baker thing.
Yeah.
But
honestly, though, the more I look at that situation, I think it is a Baker thing because look what happened in Cleveland with Odell. And now look what's happening with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, because everyone's always said, DJ Moore just needs a competent quarterback, and everyone was all excited. Baker's not going to light it up, but he's competent.
Yep.
He's a gamer. And aside from week 1, Robbie Anderson's looked like shit, and that's because of the quarterback play. And I think DJ Moore had an okay week 2. If I remember correctly, he caught a touchdown, but it's
I believe so.
But
I believe so.
Man, I would love DJ.
And week 3, he just disappeaed, completely disappeared.
I hate that you put that thought in my head because I would absolutely love DJ Moore in a pair.
And I think, if I'm being very honest, I actually don't think they make the trade because I think people forgot N'Keal Harry's coming back soon. And listen, may not be the most sexiest option, totally get it, but with him and Velus Jones probably being back in the fold eventually, that might be what exactly the Bears are looking for. Who knows? Velus Jones could be another Kevin White for all we know. But N'Keal Harry, no one's looking towards him. No one's looking for him to be a playmaker, but maybe that's exactly what he needs. Maybe he doesn't need the pressure of being in New England. He needs to be in a place where nobody's expecting any receiver to stand out. And the funny thing is, the guy that has been standing out so far is Equanimeous St. Brown, and everyone laughed. Everybody laughed. But N'Keal Harry could take that spot because, not for nothing, it don't take much effort to be better than Darnell Mooney at this point. So you might as well try something.
Yeah, I mean, aside from Fields, Mooney has had to have been the biggest disappointment on the team so far this year. And I get a lot of that comes back to Fields, but it hasn't even looked like he's been creating separation either, where St. Brown has. And it's I don't know, man. It's so frustrating to watch because I've seen high school offenses look more competent than the Bears and just have better execution, better scheme. Like it's gross. Gross is the only way to describe it.
It's incredibly frustrating when year after year after year, the Bears make offense look so hard. They just make it look like the most difficult thing on the planet. But all the names that I'm mentioning, the real savior of this offense, if they give him a chance, is going to be Ihmir Smith-Marsette. If they give him a chance, I think I remember the game last year against the Vikings, week 18, where it wasn't Justin Jefferson. It wasn't Adam Thielen. It was Smith-Marsette that was absolutely torching us. And now with Byron Pringle being out, I know there's gonna be a role for Velus Jones. I know he's more gonna be like a gadget player. I would probably think, but Give Marset a chance, man. Give
I
him a
agree.
chance. I think give all the damn receivers a chance.
I
Shit,
mean,
why not?
it's a crapshoot. Like, why not at least see what you have so you're not dealing with the
Yeah.
crapshoot again next year? And it's just, I don't know. And I just think this game this Sunday is going to be as gross of a game that we will see in quite some time.
Yeah.
Just, I don't even know who's going to be playing receiver for the Giants. And the over under is currently set at 39 and a half. And
They'll
that
go under. They'll
be
go over.
oh,
They'll go over that.
well,
There's gonna be some sneaky big plays.
re-
And by the way,
regardless, that's the only total set in the NFL this week under 40.
I would take that. But if you are listening, I've only won one parlay in my life, and this is out of maybe like 25. Don't listen to me. So do what you can.
What are your honest expectations, though, for this Sunday? Because I know that, I mean, I'm fully expecting them to run the ball at least 30 times. Fully expect that. And you know what? They're averaging the second most rushing yards a game in the entire NFL right now, a little under 200. If you're able to grind away like that, great. But that's not what this year is for.
No,
And that's just the most frustrating thing to me because I get Luke Getsy's trying to prove himself to be competent. I get Eberflus wants to win games as a head coach. But your number one priority, and I know you don't want to see the front office stepping in and calling the shots from upstairs because that pisses me off
oh yeah.
that pisses me off to no end. And but if you're Ryan Poles, you kind of have to get in Eberflus's ear. You got to let Fields just rip it. And,
Yeah.
and this is the week you got to do it. I mean,
And
Cooper Rush looked good against the Giants.
And you know why he looked good against the Giants? Because he wasn't scared.
Mm-hmm.
He played fearless. And that's the main thing that I saw from Cooper. And I'm just like, you know what? If there is an offense that is not going to restrict him, he can make a lot of money. He can make a lot of money. You give him the right coaching, he will make a lot of money because he's fearless and he's confident in his arm talent. That is exactly what we need.
I believe it was you who tweeted it that you said he's about to get himself some Matt Flynn money.
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and I think my favorite part about the whole Cooper Rush situation, not to stray away from the Bears, is just anytime a backup quarterback comes in for the Cowboys, Jerry Jones gets the biggest hard on of all time just because he thrives off of quarterback competitions, quote unquote, if you're listening instead of watching. But it's just I can't believe it. Cooper Rush has looked good in every game he's played in. It makes no sense. Undrafted in 2017, I
I
believe.
think
18 out of Central Michigan. Like, who was the last quarterback who came out of Central Michigan to actually play in the NFL? I think it was Dan Lefevre or whatever his name was, and that was, and
I,
he didn't even.
I wish he worked out. Shit. I wish he worked out. That was an electric college quarterback.
But it's just like it's the MAC. You're not having any. There's not a history of quarterbacks coming out of the MAC. I mean, yes, Big Ben. I think it's Charlie Batch out of the MAC. I
It,
believe
is Marshall in the MAC or they're in
it
the Big
was.
Sky?
It was. It was.
Oh, okay. So Chad Pennington was
Okay, yeah,
playing in
Pennington
it.
too, but still,
Yeah.
not a conference known for their quarterbacks. And Cooper Rush, though, man. I mean,
Hey, I hate to break this to you. He may have a spot on a certain team where the current quarterback is somebody that you have a very, very big admiration for. You know where I'm going with this.
I think I do. I really think I do.
Yeah, it's not looking good, and I'm embarrassed. And you know what? For those who don't know, I picked the Saints to win the Super Bowl, to be in the Super Bowl, not win, but be in the Super Bowl. And I had a feeling once I shared the same opinion as Bart Scott, I knew I was doomed. I knew I was doomed. So, like I said, I reserve the right to change my pick eventually. I think the easy pick right now is Philadelphia. They look like a well-oiled machine, but I'm gonna hold off just for a couple of weeks. But I will. I have a feeling that I will revisit this eventually.
Yeah, it it has been gross. I hate that I keep describing things as gross, but it's just
Not good.
no. And I saw a tweet. I had a friend send it to me saying, "If this isn't you," and it's like, dudes love Jameis Winston because he can throw the ball far and he's autistic. And I'm like, I'm like, I'm not I'm not saying he's autistic, but like
That's a rough tweet.
I'm like, do I love Jameis Winston because he can throw the ball far and he's a goof? Yeah, absolutely. That's why I love Jameis Winston. I mean, he is just someone I would love to sit and have a conversation with and just pick his brain because he's a guy who should be successful in the NFL just on
Absolutely.
physical tools alone. He, in my opinion, in terms of physical tools, matches up with Jay Cutler, but he cares about football more than Jay Cutler.
Absolutely. That's a
And
good comparison.
and he's just dumber on the field. I don't know. Like he just has worse vision, which is funny enough because he got LASIK and everyone's LASIK gamers, but it's just I don't know. And it's not good when you actually think to yourself, man, should Taysom Hill be in at quarterback over you?
Yeah, that's how you know you're in the mud.
Yeah. And that division is it's still up for grabs. The Buccaneers have not looked good offensively whatsoever. Like at all. At all. And I get that their receivers have been banged up. Godwin's hurt again. Julio Shocker is hurt. Mike Evans got suspended for defending Brady's honor. Brady's
Gross, by the way.
yeah. Yeah.
Gross.
Brady's looking his age for the first time I think we've ever seen it. But that defense is still fucking legit, man. Like that defense is really, really good. But it's gonna I mean, I'm not ruling the Saints out in that division yet by any means.
You should rule any team out in that division. Even the Falcons should rule them out because I'm gonna tell you something. Imagine coming back. Your marriage is in shambles. Your kids don't see you anymore, and you said, "I want to play some more football." You made this big ass retirement slideshow, thanking everybody except the Patriots and Bill Belichick, and we thought this existed. We thought this was it. And Adam Schefter probably jumps the gun, and considering that Tom Brady, maybe possibly the most pettiest man on the planet, says, "I'm going to show you that I'm going to retire on my terms." Now look at you. You look like you aged 10 years. You can't move in the pocket. You can barely throw. And all the while this, you are probably going to limp into the playoffs, get bounced in the first round, then go back to your home, and you probably gonna have a situation. If you see Step Brothers, have you seen Step Brothers? Ricky Bobby coming home to his best friend, nailing his wife, and having it took over his kids too. That can happen. And all because you wanted to go 9-8 and go to the playoffs. So hopefully that does not happen to him. I hope his family stays intact. The kids need a father, but see what happens when you don't be a family man. This the moral story of it. Just be a family man. It's okay. Football is not that important. You've done everything possible. And honestly, if he went out on that note, because if we've been really, really honest, Brady should have won MVP last year. He was that damn good.
Absolutely.
So if he would have went out on that note, everybody would have talked about like, yo, he retired and he had 5,000 yards. 5,000 yards in his last year? Come on, man. I don't feel bad for him. And no one should.
No, absolutely not. And I'm as big of a Tom Brady guy as it gets, but it's been sad watching him this year. Like it's honestly been sad. I'm not gonna say he looks as bad as Peyton Manning at the end right now, but he's getting there.
It's getting there.
Yeah. And my favorite part, I saw the report. Giselle and Tom's temporary separation is not because of football, though. Let's get that straight. It's not because of football. They haven't been living in the same home since training camp, but it's not about football. But regardless, let's actually talk football. There's someone right now there's two guys right now who have just lit the league on fire, and Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. But I want to talk about Lamar Jackson more so because it's a contract year. I had a take at when we did our preview show. I picked Lamar Jackson to win the MVP, and for once, I might not be wrong on this show because he has looked, whether it's throwing the ball or running the ball, he has looked as good as any quarterback throwing the ball this year. And he has looked, and I'm going to say it, as good as any running back with the football in his hands running the ball this year. And when people call him a running back, it shouldn't be as an insult anymore because he's a quarterback and running back all in one. He is that damn special, and he's going to get himself paid this offseason.
And I hope it's by the Ravens. I still hope it is by the Ravens. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see an organization win over a player because it just feels nasty. So hopefully the Ravens do come to their senses. And hopefully too, one of the big caveats about this is let's hope Lamar Jackson gets an agent. Let's hope he gets an agent and they can nail out the details and get this thing done. Because what he's doing right now, he is, I would say, quietly having an incredible year because everybody's talking about it, everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
But when you weigh it on the scale of the top quarterbacks, you could argue that he's been better than everybody in win and or defeat. He's been better than everybody. And the fact of the matter is, this is just the tip of the iceberg. He's going to be that good this year. And if I'm Buffalo, I'm shaking right now because the whole secondary is beat up. Buffalo may get the doors kicked in on them this weekend. And obviously, Josh Allen is the quarterback. They're always going to have a chance. Stephon Diggs is their top wide receiver. But considering what that offense can do in Baltimore, Buffalo better be scared because we was just talking about them. They 2-0. They're the best team in the league, and I don't think anybody's going to touch them. I still don't think anybody's going to touch them. I still don't believe that Miami will overtake them in the AFC East. But this is a very, very big game for Buffalo because you lose to a contender in the AFC. You go to Baltimore, beat up. It's a very, very, very big game for them. And really, I think this will be a determining game of who will really be the favorite in the AFC. I'm not saying Kansas City's completely out of the running, but we know they're gonna be there. We know. But in terms of who's that second team, I think this game is really going to be a determining factor of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think with the Bills, it's an interesting situation because I don't think it's a situation of they're not as good as we think they are. I think it's more the Dolphins are better than people were giving them credit for, more than anything. But I heard a stat this week. I believe it's 10 or 11. The Bills' last 10 or 11 wins or something like that have all come by 10 or more points. And as dumb as this sounds, I don't know if they're conditioned to play in close games because I mean, they shouldn't have lost that game to the Dolphins.
No, not at all.
They really shouldn't have, but they just looked like they didn't know what to do with the clock running out.
Yeah.
They couldn't spike the ball at the end there. No one was getting out of bounds. And I don't know if that's a coaching thing or what, but you're going to have to win a close game at some point because I don't know. I don't know if that's just a really dumb thought that's coming out of my mind, but it's something that I've thought about, and I'm sure, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a topic of discussion on Buffalo Sports Radio this week either. With the meathead. I can't do a Buffalo accent. I was going to do a Chicago accent, but like coming in from East Buffalo, wherever, talking about how Josh Allen needed to spike the ball, they would have won on a Gabriel David. Like, who knows? They're still the best team in the AFC. I mean, they are. Top to bottom, they are. Although they do need to figure out their running game because Josh Allen has accounted for, I believe the number's like 87% of their total offense so far. And that's unacceptable. I mean, there's no balance there. There's absolutely no balance. And everyone's always been talking about Devin Singletary having that breakout. It's never happened. And now I saw the rumors swirling around on Twitter today that there might be a potential trade for Saquon Barkley into the fold. I don't think that happens. Man, that would
it's a game changer.
Oh,
That'll
yeah.
be a game changer. And I think Josh Allen will fall in love with Saquon Barkley. And honestly, it would probably be the best possible move if you are Buffalo, because you have to preserve your quarterback's health. It just relying on him to get those rushing yards. It's not something that's ideal. And we talk about Devin Singletary eventually breaking through, maybe Zach Moss. Heck, I thought the guy coming into this year that was going to break out was going to be James Cook.
Yeah.
And he fumbled the first game, and we haven't heard much of him ever since. And honestly speaking, it's going to be interesting to see if the lack of running game that they have is going to be their downfall. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that a good strong running game is the determinant factor whether the team is good, but it does get you to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Case in point, the 49ers when they beat the Packers that one year, wins the Super Bowl, came within a couple of points of beating Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like it could happen, but is that a winning formula to win a championship? I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Yeah. And before we wrap up the show here, we would be remiss not to mention it with Brandon being a St. Louis Cardinal fan. Machine, Albert Pujols hit 700. And Brandon, I know you did not want to touch on it on the show until it happened. And I get it. But it happened. 700. What is he? The fifth person ever?
Yes.
As good of a hitter as I've ever seen.
So Albert Pujols, I won't say always was my favorite play. I was absolutely heartbroken when he left for the Angels. Mm-hmm. Heartbroken. So when he came back, I was like, cool. I'm glad he's going to be finishing his career in St. Louis. This is exactly how it should be. And if anybody told me he was going to hit 21 home runs to reach 700, I would have told you you're absolutely nuts. Because I thought Albert Pujols was just a cooked product. The guy who's going to come off the bench and just deliver power when he sees fit.
Yep.
He got 21 home runs right now. And I didn't expect that. I absolutely did not expect that. While I was very much looking forward to watching the record being broken, I didn't. And I'm going to tell you how that happened. So I had a very long day on Friday. So I with my girlfriend, just doing a whole bunch of stuff. So I was very, very tired when, the Dodgers game came on. It comes on 10:10 Eastern Standard Time. And, I hate West Coast games. But anyways.
Oh, they're the worst. And I
absolute worst.
It's even worse for you being an hour ahead of me.
Exactly. So I saw that the Cardinals were winning by the third inning. I was like, okay, whatever. I'm pretty sure the Dodgers will come back. I'm gonna go to sleep before I have to witness it. The top of the fourth is when I fell asleep. Turns out the top of the fourth is when Albert Pujols hit the home run. I missed my all-time favorite baseball player. I missed him hitting his milestone home run. And I have been sick about it since that Friday. I've been sick. I'm physically ill for missing that home run. And you know what? What's even better? I have a device that allows me to watch every channel on in America, mm-hmm. or even beyond America. Hopefully, I won't get taken to jail because of this, but who cares? I couldn't even see the Cardinals clinch the division last night. As soon as that double play happened, it froze on me. Couldn't even see the last out, couldn't even see the call from Dan McLaughlin. I couldn't see anything. So I think I figured it out. For good things to happen, I may not have to be around for them. Maybe I won't watch this postseason. Maybe I'll track it on the game on the game day thing on MLB, the app. Maybe that's what it would take for the Cardinals to win the World Series. I'm gonna try it out. Because if the good thing's gonna happen when I'm not watching, I'll watch the rerun and they'll still make me happy. So congrats to Albert Pujols. I'm glad he reached that milestone. I'm just hoping that because I've loved Cardinal teams in the past. 2011 obviously was the one that always going to stand out to me. 2013. If this team doesn't win the World Series, I think I'll be legitimately heartbroken. Legitimately heartbroken.
They're who I'm pulling for at this point. One, because I would love the storybook ending for Pujols, Wainwright, and Yachty. I mean, I hate Yachty with my despise Yachty. Love Wainwright and Pujols. So I can't stand Yachty. I never have been able to. But it'd just be an awesome story. I mean, it would be. And it would just make every Cub fan I know skin crawl. So it'd just make it that much sweeter for me. And I mean, it's just a storybook ending. It's a storybook ending. And St. Louis deserves it. I mean, I'm not gonna say the team deserves it, but the city does. I mean, there's not much going on in St. Louis, if we're being completely honest. And I'll tell you what, as long as those greasy fucks from New York don't win, the Yankees, I could care less if the Mets win. Because you want to know why I wouldn't care if the Mets won the World Series? Because that would show other teams, other ownership groups, if you want to win, just spend all the fucking money.
Spend the fucking money.
Spend the fucking money.
Spend the money.
Because that's all that matters at the end of the day with Stephen Cohen. He wants to win. He'll pay every tax, every fine. He does not give a fuck. And I dream for the day that the future White Sox owner, when Jerry Reinsdorf is 6 feet under, we'll just do that. I'm just praying for the day Jeff Bezos buys the White Sox, if I'm being completely honest.
I would not rule that out. Not at all. But I will say this. Glad you brought up Cub fans. When 2016 happened, I was in hell. That was the worst time of my life. October, I believe it was October, maybe early November of 2016. That was the worst. Lowest point of me being a baseball fan when the Cubs broke their curse. The lowest, because everyone became a Cubs fan. You had people on ESPN and other media outlets with Cub hats, and you're just like, when in the fuck did you become a fan? So I'm going to say this, and I have no regrets about it, because I'll just make another one. The Cardinals win the World Series. I'm getting suspended that night. I'm getting suspended. I'm going to be the most unbearable motherfucker on that app, and I'm going to be cool with it. I'm going to be cool with it. I will act a complete ass if we win the World Series. Now, granted, I had this conversation with my girlfriend too. If the Bears win the Super Bowl, I mean, you won't just block me. I'll be the most unbearable person. But if the Cardinals win, I might be just as unbearable. But let's see. But I don't mind me another Twitter account. Maybe I need a little bit of a cleanse from some of the people I follow. Who knows?
I'm looking forward to seeing if you actually do stay true to your word there and not watch the rest of the games, the rest of the postseason.
I'm considering, man. 1-1 to score on the other side. I'm out. That's it. I need to see anything else.
Hey, I'm all good with superstitions because I've convinced myself many a times that if I listen to the radio instead of watching, Sox play better when I listen on the radio. So I'll turn off the TV and I'll pull up the radio stream on my phone. And guess what? They've won multiple times and I've done it. So I'm like, shit. Being a sports fan is weird, man. And if anything, this show should demonstrate that because within a matter of 2-3 weeks here, we've gone from telling you that the Bears could potentially be a wild card team, Justin Fields is the guy, to lower your expectations. The Bears actually suck. They've gotten lucky. Justin Fields probably isn't the guy based on how he's played this year. And it's just, that's the life of a sports fan, man. Just up and down, peaks and valleys. And that's just what it's about.
And granted, this is going to be a very, very hard thing for me. I'll probably tell my kids, go into politics. Actually, no, don't go into politics. No, no, no. But just chase what you love. If sports is what you love, sure, it's gonna cost you. Politics, go into it. It's gonna cost you, but just do what you love. But I'm gonna warn you, don't be a sports fan. Don't be like me. My life revolves around fucking sports, and I hate it. I hate it. It's not. It's not fun. It is absolutely not fun. I'm in a 360 deal with sports, and it's not fun. So hopefully, my kids will end up like me.
Yeah, it's never fun trying to explain to new people, like, oh, what are your hobbies? Uh, I, I like to watch sports. I like to read about sports, talk about sports, gamble on sports. It's like I don't know what else you want me to say here. And
But you know what? You could be doing far worse things than not being involved with sports. So that's always my response.
amen
So
to that.
we good over here.
Amen to that. With that being said, it's going to wrap up this week's episode. And if you liked it, like, share, subscribe, leave us a review. Hopefully, we're talking about the 3-1 Chicago Bears next week, but we will see you next time.